This is Hal Cranmer. You guys all know me as the owner of A Paradise for Parents. And I just wanted to do this short video to introduce you to someone I met through a really good book called The Paleocardiologist. There's a cardiologist in Phoenix who believes in healthy lifestyles, nutrition, exercise, things like that, as much as the drugs and procedures and things like that to help people, especially older people in our homes with your families. Christina is a health coach that works for Dr. Wolfson, who's part of this cardiologist. I have that right, Christina, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The
And
Paleocardiologist is his book.
okay, and I'd love to share that book with any of you, but today I'd like Christina to talk about health coaching and how that can be a great extra complement, both for your loved one, mom or dad, in our assisted living home, and for maybe other members of your family that might have some trouble with some chronic diseases or just other ailments that can be relieved through healthier living rather than just looking for a pill or a surgical procedure. So, Christina, maybe you could just start off giving us a little of your background as a health coach.
Yeah, sure. So I got my undergraduate degree from the University of Washington. I got my bachelor's degree in medical anthropology and global health, so kind of a more cultural perspective on healthcare. And then I minored in nutrition. I moved down to Arizona from Washington in 2016, and I was just kind of job searching and happened across this holistic cardiology practice. And in working for Dr. Wolfson, my first year working there, I immediately fell in love with everything he was doing. The entire process of looking at things a little bit differently, getting people off medications instead of just handing them medications for every symptom and every kind of end state sign that something was going wrong in their body. So I actually went on to get my master's degree in integrative and functional nutrition the second year I was working for him. I completed that just last year, so I have been practicing as one of his nutritionists and health coach for the past year and a half about. And it's been an amazing experience. We have 4 other health coaches on our team as well. So we kind of help to bridge that gap between, your doctor, the treatment plan, what happens in between your doctor's visits. There's a lot that health coaches, a lot of people don't realize can come in handy for.
Fantastic. So, what I'd like to sort of talk today is how, if someone started using your services, to see if we can improve their health through all of those things you mentioned, um, what the process is. One thing I really like is that you guys start with doing a bunch of testing to really determine what's wrong with people. I know doctors do that, but maybe you can talk about some of the tests you guys do to
Yeah,
help
absolutely.
guide your help.
Yeah, so as a more holistic and what's called functional medicine practice, we're looking above and beyond just traditional screening markers that most conventional doctors are going to look at. So instead of, for example, just testing your total cholesterol numbers, we also want to look at the particle sizes of your cholesterol, which tells us a lot more about the health and the functioning of your cholesterol. You can have a higher ratio of more small, dense, and sticky particle sizes, or you can have a balanced ratio with the fluffy, healthy, buoyant cholesterol particle sizes. So the total cholesterol numbers don't really tell us the whole story, and oftentimes they're misleading. Dr. Wolfson likes to say, and as he says in his book, cholesterol is just there at the scene of the crime. It's not the culprit. It's not the suspect. What is the suspect is inflammatory processes in the body and what is driving those and what's driving that abnormal cholesterol production to trend more towards those small, sticky, and dense particle sizes. So we're looking at that, for example, with our cardiovascular panel that we do. We also do a really extensive inflammation panel workup. So most doctors, if they're testing in any inflammation markers at all and just a general physical checkup, they're just looking maybe at HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. That's probably something most people are fairly familiar with. We go above and beyond that, and we test for 5 different inflammatory markers that are more specific to arterial damage and inflammation within the vascular system. So we can get a higher degree of certainty where that inflammation is coming from, if it is cardiovascular related. So this is all these things kind of build on each other too to help us put the whole puzzle piece together. Because there's no one thing that gives us our answer for everything. It's more so the comprehensive picture. And this is really how functional medicine practices and really shines for patient care, because we're not, specialists and sending you to a different specialist for every one part of the body. We're looking at the entire body all together at one time. So that's an example of our really comprehensive cardiac and physical panel, where we're also doing more extensive metabolic panel workup. We look at things like fasting insulin, hemoglobin A1C. We do all of your liver markers, liver function, kidney function. We do CBC, your complete blood count, looking at immune system function and red blood cells. We do hormones, we do full thyroid. So this is all just on our cardiac and physical panel, which is kind of just the tip of the iceberg. From there, we do more specific testing, because now we have an idea on this cardiac and physical panel, kind of what the issues are. There's inflammation, maybe there's some metabolic syndrome issues, maybe there's, some hormonal or thyroid imbalances, but now we need to figure out why that's happening. So we go more in depth with micronutrient testing. So we look at intracellular and extracellular nutrient levels. We look at minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, fatty acids, amino acids, the whole gambit. And not only to see if they're in the blood, but if they're getting absorbed into the cells. So that's really important. And if we see any issues with absorption or assimilation of those nutrients, then we know that we need to probably take a closer look at the gut health and other things that could be related to that. So then we go into a panel looking at leaky gut, or what's called intestinal permeability. And Dr. Wolfson writes about this in his book, The Paleocardiologist, as a huge root cause variable for many cardiovascular related conditions, and many conditions overall. Autoimmune conditions largely too are related to leaky gut. So it's basically when the tight junction barrier in your gut that keeps your gut separate from the rest of your body starts to separate, and things are leaking out of the gut into the bloodstream, causing an upregulated immune response and driving inflammation. So things like food proteins, undigested food proteins, bacterial toxins that are produced in the gut, and then also toxins that we're taking in from the foods from our diet. So we look at that. And then last but not least, these are all kind of potential things that we could offer someone if we were suspecting these issues. Last but not least, we do extensive toxin testing. So we look at heavy metals, environmental toxins, and mold toxins, which are called mycotoxins, because these can cause a lot of nervous system dysfunction in the body. They can block a lot of physiological processes. They can also block nutrient absorption. So they cause a lot of kind of more insidious problems beneath the surface that absolutely contribute to chronic disease. So a lot of stuff, but and there's a lot more tests too that we do more specifically, but that's kind of a lot of the baseline testing that we offer.
Wow. Is there anything you don't test?
Right. And so this is where we are so different from conventional doctors, because we're not just looking at the bare minimum things. We want to get that full comprehensive image of where your body might be lacking and needing support. And I always like to say, we have to take a look under the hood, so to speak, right? We have to see what's going on. We can't just treat the symptom, because the symptom is just a sign of the problem. You have to figure out what the cause of that symptom is and then go after that.
Great, great. So it's because you work for a cardiologist, it's not just cardiovascular. Like we have
Right.
people with diabetes problems, obviously Alzheimer's and dementia is a big one. We have people with fibromyalgia, lots of autoimmune conditions, things like that. So all of you guys can look at the whole spectrum and design a plan that maybe can help them. I don't want to say cure it, but give them
Yeah, our
great
goal is
relief.
always to reverse it. So I don't shy away from saying that at all, because it's absolutely what we do with every single one of our patients. Is we're looking for variables and factors we can improve to reverse disease processes and mitigate progression of disease, especially too. So you and I were just chatting earlier too, how passionate we are about prevention. So even coming to us earlier, obviously we can intervene at any point, any disease state, any stage of the process, but the earlier we get people involved and educated on this type of care, the more we can do to prevent long-term effects of those underlying problems that start very early on. A disease doesn't happen overnight. It happens over many, many years of that dysfunction, stress to the body, you know, negative inputs to the body that we can attack and address a lot earlier on. And that is my hope too, and my passion is teaching even younger people about these things so that we can start getting tested earlier before we just start seeing problems and symptoms.
Okay, so that's a great point. We have, 70, 80, 90-year olds in our assisted living. Maybe your processes you think can help them, as well as maybe some of their families that are 40s, 50s, 60s, or younger, grandkids,
Mm,
or that kind of thing too,
absolutely, yeah.
right?
And we do kind of whole family care. A lot of people are bringing their kids to us, they're coming to us, and then their parents are coming to us. So we have like a generational, a whole family coming to our office and seeing us. And, you know, of course, the younger you are, the less you're going to have to come in and get testing done. It's more so for
Right.
that prevention piece. The more advanced stage of a disease or a problem that you are, the more frequently you're probably going to have to come in and see us and work with us. And that is also where a health coach really comes in handy, is for people with more progressed disease states, because they need a lot more attention, a lot more kind of hand holding, troubleshooting, support along the way that we offer.
And I think if they come to you and get that plan, or whatever needs to be done, especially for the older residents of my homes, they could you guys could work with my staff and say, okay, this is what we need to feed them. These are the supplements they need to take whenever. These are the exercises they need to do. I don't know all the details of the plan. You won't know until you test them, I'm sure, and see them. But that's kind of what you're thinking, is we sort of could set up a program almost to make sure that we're following your guidelines and recommendations.
Yeah, so we provide anyone that we see or treat, or, you know, we do lab work with, we provide them with a treatment plan. And so that treatment plan can be shared with anyone who has involvement in their care. And then, of course, if they're signed up for more additional health coaching support, like we offer kind of monthly packages of health coaching so that you're getting biweekly calls, unlimited email support, you know, just a lot more attention, like I said, and support through the process of treatment. We can absolutely work with anyone who's involved in that person's care to support and educate and make sure everything is being done correctly.
Great. And I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but maybe share like a success story you had, especially if it's an elderly person, but it could be, anyone, and just sort
Mhm.
of give an idea of what you've done with people, and what you've led them to achieve.
Yeah, I have a good one that I was just sharing the other day. So a gentleman who found us through the paleocardiologist book that Dr. Wolfson wrote, he lives in, I believe, Ohio. So he read the book, contacted our office. He and I actually had a coaching call where we do those initial 20-minute free coaching calls to kind of hear you out on what health issues that you're struggling with, what you're maybe needing support with, and how we can help you, and what would be a good idea for you to get started with. So he and I had that coaching call, 20 minutes. We spent talking and chatting about his health conditions. So he had atrial fibrillation, which, you know, is an arrhythmia disorder. We see a lot of that here at our office too, because that's one of those heart conditions that really you're told there's not much you can do about it. It's just kind of this very doomsday diagnosis of like, you're just going to
Right.
get worse and worse and worse, and the problem's just going to
Oh,
progress. You're probably
yeah.
going to have a stroke, you know, and then they just put you on medications. So a lot of people find us that way because we're probably one of the only offices telling people otherwise, that no, there's absolutely root causes to this condition that we can find and address and treat. So he came to us for that. He was on multiple medications. He was on metoprolol. He was on a baby aspirin. So he was just looking to get off his medications essentially because they were making him feel really crappy. He was on a statin as well. So, you know, because I'm a health coach, I'm not a doctor. I always tell people up front, I cannot help you get off medications. I'm not the doctor who can come in and say, yes, stop taking that, or, you know,
Right.
start
Yep.
taking that or change your dose on that. That's not my job.
Yep.
My job, though, and how I can come into play, even for someone who's not seeing one of the practitioners at our office, is finding those root cause cause variables through testing that we do offer on our website. So anyone can order all the tests that I mentioned earlier. Anyone can hop on our website and order any of those that they are interested in, and they include a coaching call to review your results. So that's all me and this gentleman did, is we just had that initial coaching call. He ordered the labs and we did a lab review, and we found some really amazing kind of answers to his health concerns, particularly related to toxins. So he had a lot of detoxing that we needed to work through, and he also had leaky gut, intestinal permeability that we talked about. So there was this whole protocol I put together for him, basically addressing detoxification functions, so enhancing liver support, introducing binding agents that help to bind to toxins in the body and pull them out efficiently and effectively, and then also healing the gut lining and reducing a lot of the inflammation within the gut. So he followed that for a few months, and then we also offer different group coaching programs. So he actually enrolled in, we have a specific AFib group coaching course.
Oh,
He did
that's
that for
good.
12
So you
weeks.
can
Yeah.
share with others.
Yeah. So we did that for 12 weeks. He joined us in that. And then he also did our fasting program. We have a whole kind of fat adapted keto and fasting program that we do for 21 days alternately throughout the year. And that's another group coaching thing. They're always a lot of fun too, because we get multiple people, sometimes a couple hundred people in this group that we're walking through
Wow.
these protocols and supporting. So there's a lot of shared intention and shared kind of movement forward for progress, and people are sharing their motivation with each other. They're sharing their progress and results. So it's a really motivating environment. So he did that too. And through all of this, he was able to have these conversations with his doctor about getting off his medications, and kind of slowly, just one at a time. He's like, I no longer have high blood pressure. I no longer am having significant palpitations or episodes. Can I get off this? I no longer have a high risk on my Chad's VASC score. Can I get off the baby aspirin? So all of these things, one by one, he was able to talk with his doctor and get off those medications. So even though I didn't necessarily, take him off of those medications, it was through the work that he did with me as a health coach to get off the medications. And he's just been a tremendous success story of mine, that I've worked with him for about 2 years now. And, visits alternately, just whenever he repeats lab work, we follow up on the phone together, and he's very adherent to his plan. So it's, one of those great things where he was able to find us, get the education and the knowledge that he was needing to really address things on his own. And we provided him the treatment plan, and he just took it and ran with it.
Fantastic. And can you give us an idea of his age?
Yeah, he was 70.
Okay, so right
Mhm.
in the range.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. What a great success story.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so let's talk just in the few minutes we have left. Um, so someone's interested in working with you guys. How should they go about doing that?
So I would first and foremost set up that free 20-minute call with one of us health coaches. That's the best way to just speak with one of us, tell us about what you're struggling with, so that we can come in with, kind of plans and ideas of how we can help you and how we can bridge that gap of care that you are needing, and possibly finding a more natural and holistic way of treating what's going on. We can give you those options and maybe what tests would be appropriate for you, or maybe suggesting working with one of our practitioners. It's going to kind of depend on the person's story and situation and severity of the condition of
And
what
you
we're
would
going to
be and you would be fine with like the whole family getting on the call, because some of the
Yeah.
older people might be a little shy or something about doing
Totally.
that.
And we love that. We really support. And even when people come to our office for visits, Dr. Wolfson always tells them, if you have a spouse, bring them, even the kids, bring them all to the office, because we do so much education in our visits. It's
Oh,
not just
great.
your typical, quick 10 or 15-minute doctor's visit. We are
Right.
spending usually 30 minutes to an hour with you, with full education of everything that we are working on with you, the treatment plan, the purposes of things that we're asking you to do. Because we really believe too that when people understand a little bit more about what's going on and what we're asking of them, they're a lot more adherent to it, versus just being told what to do. They don't really understand it. They take that plan home, and then they just don't know what to do with it.
Right.
It gives people a lot more self-efficacy.
Fantastic. Okay. And let's let everyone know you guys are located in Phoenix. I know you talked about the guy in Ohio, but you're in Phoenix, so it's not like they have to do this telemedicine visit or
No,
fly
and
in
we
or
work
anything.
with people from all over. We are completely, a remote practice,
Mhm.
but you can come see our practitioners in office to become an official patient with us. And our naturopathic provider, Dr. Lauren Latanza, has offered that she can travel to the group homes and see people there if they are unable to travel to us. We're just located in Paradise Valley off Tatum and Shea. So depending on
Okay.
what the patient's concerns and needs are, we can be flexible in that way.
And we already have your doctor coming to visit one of our residents here real soon. So
Yes, I'm
excited to
so
get this
excited
started.
about that. Yeah.
Right.
We'll have another success story on the way.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put all your contact information in our email to everyone. And is there anything else that you'd like to let them know before we sign off here?
I can also send you a link, Hal. There's an area online where they can purchase Dr. Wolfson's book, The Paleocardiologist, and just pay
Great.
shipping and handling. It's just freeheartbook.com. So
Okay.
anyone can go there and order the book. It's also available if you do like audiobooks. They have that on Amazon, the audio version. So depending on, what people like, I definitely think that's a really good place for most people to start, is to read our book and just to get a good idea of our methodology. I like to kind of call it like our blueprint of how we treat as well, because Dr. Wolfson dives into a lot of those things I mentioned, particular to the testing as well. So it's a good place to kind of get that overview and education even before working with us if you're interested.
And I've read the book and love it. I endorse everything you say there. It's great.
And I love that you found us that way, Hal. I'm so glad we connected.
Definitely, Christina. Okay. Well, I will follow up with our residents and see what we can do to really help them. I really appreciate your time today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Hal.
All right. Have a great weekend, Christina.
You
Take care.
too.